Stand by the ocean, everything of your motion, getting all your might and glory from the sky. Just another story, man-made life. It fell from the sky.
Good morning. I love that song. Oh, that's right. I wrote it. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, Clay Douglas, and my guest today joins me from Ireland, Joe Lonergan. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Not too bad, Clay. Not too bad. I can't complain.
Well, but sometimes I still do. Joe, you know, you're calling us from the free world, from Europe. You're part of the European Union now, and seems like there's a little bit of a rebellion to the European Union, kind of like the states are going up against the feds, waving the 10th Amendment. But you make an interesting comment on my show that you've been occupied for 800 years. Now, that may be hard for somebody to grasp, except maybe the Palestinians who've been occupied for the last 100. Talk to me about that. What you know? When you say occupied, you know, people think of armed troops on the streets, but we're starting to see that in America.
That's right. I was watching some stuff actually on YouTube where they were doing well, whatever you call it, dummy runs or whatever it is. I found that interesting that you had this troops on the street, you know. But as regards here, I mean, I wouldn't have seen there wouldn't have been troops on the street down south here since I suppose 1916, you know, since the actual rising here, when some people decided to do something about it. But up to maybe there still is now, I'm not quite sure, but the peace agreement that was up the north, the deal made where the British held on to 6 of our counties because of their own people who were called unionists, I suppose. Their allegiance was to the British Crown. So the thing is that up to the peace agreement, as they call it, there was troops on the street, and the troops initially came in to stop the fighting on the streets between the two different factions, Republicans, Unionists, Loyalists, you know. But and Unionists and Loyalists are more or less the same thing.
Now,
but
we
actually
go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
What actually happened in the end was when it got to the point where the nationalists and Republicans in the north and the unionists were coming on a par, as we say, where the nationalists and Republicans were given rights, because they had no rights in the north of Ireland. They lived in terrible conditions. They weren't given any work. They were kept down all the time. So when this agreement was made, all of a sudden then these nationalists had rights. But before that, when the Unionists and the Loyalists saw this, they rose up, and then it ended up then that the British soldiers had to fight them, and then these loyalists began fighting between themselves, and the British are known for that. All the British want is someone to fight, and if they can't find someone, they'll do it between themselves. So that's what happened there. Now we don't have troops on the street here down in the 26 counties, of course.
So how do you? Why do you consider yourself occupied? Now we've got a similar situation, I think, right here in the United States. I've made the comment before that our founding fathers here fought the New World Order of their day. The sun never sets on the British Empire.
That's correct, Jack.
And you know, although we supposedly won the war, the British are still with us, and the Civil War here, all the South wanted was their rights and wanted to own their crops, and you know, the North came down, defeated them, and basically occupied the South, and they've been doing it ever since, and we still got the feds here interfering in our state business. So we're kind of occupied too, aren't we?
Well, you are, but you see, I'm sure you're aware of it, but I mean, the Queen of England is running your country.
Well, she at least controls Social Security. That's documented records.
Yeah, she's running your show there, you know, and many other shows. She's running the South African show, wherever, I suppose, they were, you know, whatever countries that they were in, that they occupied, they're still running the show there. You know, the Queen's head all over the world, you know. So that's the truth of it. And it's only because, you see, we're so close. You know, we're what we call a stone's throw from England. The mainland, as they'd like to call it, but we're just a stone's throw, and we see what goes on there all the time. And we've had, as a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, we had a visit here from Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales, and many people didn't know about it until he was actually gone. And that's what they do. You know, so when I say that we're still occupied, what I'm saying is that there is 6 of our counties occupied by the British still, run by Britain. And if an inch of my country was being occupied by anybody else, that's occupied as far as I'm concerned. It's all or nothing, you know.
Now, you say the Queen. When you say the Queen, I don't see the Queen as being the power. I see the power follow the money. I see the power being the Rothschild. I see the power being the City of London. I see the Rothschild sitting around a table having their tea, raising a flag to decide the price of gold. And the Israel was a country created by the Rothschild. It was a Rothschild colony in Palestine, and until the Balfour Declaration, basically the English lord, with strings being pulled by the Rothschilds, gave Palestine to the Jews. And Rothschild started the Zionists. So is it? Let me get your viewpoint here. You know, is this a English, or is this a Zionist? Is this a Protocols of the Elders of Zion plan for one world government under? Well, they called it under Lucifer, and I'm not quite going for that right now.
Yeah.
Lucifer is the hero in my next novel. I'm gonna turn him into a good guy. I think he's just been demonized by the last 4,000 years.
But I tell you, my opinion is, right, and I think there's a lot of truth in it, that the Illuminati, as you're well aware of, they came from